When my children were in school, the morning routine was to drop them off at school, drive to Asheville, go to the McDonald's on Tunnel Road, order an Egg McMuffin, and take it to the courthouse where I would eat it while I was preparing my cases for the day. It was probably 30 years ago when I was walking into the courthouse one morning when I saw a man sorting through the garbage in the trash can outside of the entrance door to the courthouse. He was rather carefully going through the trash, and behind him he had created three piles. One was a pile of drink containers that appeared to have some liquid left in them. One was food containers that presumably he had found leftovers in. And the third was cigarette butts. And that time of mornings, probably 8:15 in the morning at the courthouse, quite a crowd going into the building. And everyone was looking at this man, but he did not look at any of us. And I went on my way and went up to my office and did my regular morning routine. And the next day when I went to the courthouse, got out of my car, came around the corner, and I saw him again. And he was doing the same thing. He had the same three piles. This was a very unusual experience at that time at the courthouse. And everybody was looking. He didn't make eye contact with anybody, and nobody spoke. Went in, had my breakfast, went about my day's work. The third day, when I went, he was there again, going through the garbage and doing the same thing, had his three piles. And I kind of turned away a little bit, and I noticed fewer people were looking at him. It may have been another day or two later. He was there those mornings as well. And I was at the line at McDonald's, and I ordered my Egg McMuffin. And then I ordered the biggest breakfast they had, which I think at that time it had eggs and biscuits and sausage and hash browns and pancakes. I added the largest coffee they sold, the largest orange juice, and then for kind of a breakfast dessert, I got a cherry turnover. And I was really excited going to the courthouse. And I parked my car, and I kind of was a little bit of a juggling act, making sure I didn't spill anything. But I had decided that the way I was going to handle this was, since his little pile was behind him, I was just going to set down his breakfast behind him and just go on into the building. So I came around the corner, and to my surprise and disappointment, he wasn't there. I looked up and down the street. I looked across the street. I didn't see him anywhere. So I took everything up to my office and I ate my breakfast, but I was still checking out the window to see if I could see him anywhere, and I never did. So I ended up giving that breakfast to my bailiff, and he definitely enjoyed it. The next day, I'm back at McDonald's, and again, I ordered the same big breakfast. And the cashier, we had become friends over the years, she said, "Honey, you must be really hungry lately." And I told her, we laughed and told her I was, and took the breakfast and got out of my car and was really hopeful, and came around the corner and he wasn't there again. I looked around. I did the same thing. I went up to my office, got my stuff ready for work, and kept checking the window, and ultimately gave that breakfast away because I never did see him. I never saw that man again, and he was never at the courthouse. But I didn't forget him. He stayed with me quite a while. And I had a couple questions, like, who was he? And where did he go? Where did he come from? I thought, well, maybe he was my Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life, who was trying to earn his wings by getting me to open my eyes and my heart and to share. And I thought, well, maybe he was the man that Mother Teresa described as Christ Jesus in distressing disguise. She was asked how she could care for the sick and the diseased and the dying in the streets of Calcutta. And that was her answer. She was caring for Christ Jesus in distressing disguise. So I debated that for a while. And I also agreed he could have just been a hungry and thirsty man, attending to his needs in the best way he could under that time and that situation in his life. As I thought more about him, I really had to search my heart. And I came up with a couple of things that I believe to be true. One was that man knew what he needed, and he was willing to do what it took to meet his needs in the best way that he could at that time. I also knew that I had been given several opportunities to give to him and to help him meet his needs. I don't know if I was put in his path or if he was put in my path, but there was clearly lessons for me to learn. Every time I did see him, I had food in my hand, I had a drink in my hand, and I had money in my pocket. And every time I walked past him without sharing that. And I honestly did not consciously think, oh, well, I could give him my food, but I don't want to do that. It wasn't that situation. It's more embarrassing than that, really, because it never occurred to me to give him what I had already in my hand. So it wasn't intentional on my part to neglect his needs, but I did do that. And after I had bought the breakfasts and I couldn't find him, and I realized my disappointment in not being able to give to him, it really sunk in how I had failed that opportunity and how I did not respond in the way that I would have wanted myself to respond. And that created for me a lot of shame and humiliation about my conduct. I didn't walk the walk that I was so easy to talk the talk. Pastor Matt sent a letter a few weeks ago about the culture of generosity, and it reminded me of that man and my failure. He spoke truth in the letter about our deep inherent need to give, and I truly believe that that is true because I know how badly I felt that I didn't do what I should have done when I should have done it. So it hurt my own spiritual growth. I question my ability to even serve or to be a good Christian in the world. That absolute failure on my part to respond to that man in a timely way taught me a lesson about the need to anticipate and be prepared to give in all circumstances. When I do that and I look for people where they are instead of where I am, I experience the joy in giving. Marvin and I have had a lot of fun over the years driving around town with either food or gift cards or money or blankets, just looking to be able to give them to someone in need. Those are some of our best dates. In my life, I always wanted to know what God's will was. And I assumed that would be a very specific assignment, and that if I had the ability, I would certainly try to do that. I never got that specific message from him. But I did get a real peace in understanding a simple instruction of find a need and fill it. I think when you find a need and you fill it, you clearly are in God's will. Giving away things, whether it's food or money or time or clothing, it creates a new space in your heart that you can have more room to grow spiritually, have more room to worship, and more opportunity to give praise and thanks to God. That's the gratitude of giving. And it is such a blessing in my life. Thank you.